Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello and welcome back.
Well, today, guys, was beautiful. I think it's the first time we've touched close to 60 degrees. It felt like
It was so nice. It really was.
it really did. There was a strong breeze out there, but it had a little bit of a warm tinge to it. And that's something that it seems like it's been forever to feel.
I know I missed it, so I'm glad we got a taste of that today.
But what it makes me think of is spring and then summer. And what are we going to face as we look at the remnants of what Katrina did to New Orleans?
I know that's really scary looking.
Do you know 1,600 people is what they say lost their lives in Katrina?
That's too high of a number.
You know, I am very well aware that more people die in car accidents, but it's just when you see the damage that can be done by hurricanes and tornadoes, it's just incredible.
And what people have to endure is horrific.
Mm-hmm. I have shared with you guys, I've been in hurricanes before and had one tornado actually cross the road maybe 100 yards ahead of us, if that, and we thought we were going to die. It's kind of like final prayers, just hold hands and try to keep a good vibe up, and luckily we were okay. But that was really scary. That was super scary as we look at the power of tornadoes. And these are the stats that we have, and this is coming out of NOAA. And you can see from 2020, we had 1,248 preliminaries, and they've confirmed 1,075 as far as the number of tornadoes. So when you look at that, we actually see 2019 was more active, and actually 2018 and 2017 too, although it did seem like the storms were stronger. And 2020, we did have more deaths, 76 in the United States.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to look at the numbers here and realize that.
So, we're talking about best states and where's the best place to live. This has been going through our minds as we have roamed all around the United States. And there are some surprises when you look at the most disaster-prone states. I bet you most people wouldn't get them right. At least I don't think you get the top 5 right. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see in the comments, though.
Okay. Yeah, and do share. So now this is by the number of declared major disaster events.
Yes.
So Alaska comes in 25, right? And Alaska, well, you definitely have landslides, you get fires, wildfires, you have earthquakes, and you could even get the chance of tsunamis, as we've seen. And earthquakes, yeah, they are rocking and rolling all the time up in Alaska. Very, very, well, it takes a super hardy person to live up there.
It sure does, and Bigfoots too, I'm sure.
And this one, Iowa, number 24. As you see some damage here during a storm in 2017. So Iowa has 72 major disasters declared since 1953. And, it's not one of the places, but of course we're in the middle. It's not one of the places I think of the most when you come to natural disasters. But we did see major flooding that way before, and they can still get tornadoes. They see about 46 tornadoes per year. Now, Nebraska had that massive flooding a couple years back. That was incredible.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Look at that. That's so sad. That whole barn is gone.
And you have 72 major disasters since 1953. It could be winter snow and ice storms, tornadoes in the spring, and then summer fires and flooding at any time as well.
Mm-hmm. I know, just any time.
And then West Virginia, where our dear sister Nicole is. Hey, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
West Virginia is a beautiful state, very mountainous, very dense, but yeah, landslides, mudslides, most definitely. I've gone through some ice storms in there that were scary. I've seen snow piled, twice over my head at times a year. You could get a lot of different things going there. And even a couple remnants of hurricanes are possible, but not often. Now, Minnesota is number 21, and you got 74 major disasters there since 1953.
Yep, that's quite a few. To me, that's just too many still.
Flooding, more flooding, but the worst disaster ever was a fire back in 1918.
Oh, that's too bad.
Now, Missouri, I expect, because Missouri, you think of tornadoes again. And here you have 74 major disasters since 1953. You could also have floods there as well. There's been some serious floods in Missouri.
I know, that's like Splinter City right there.
It is. How about Tennessee, number 20? So we see remnants of a fire there. 76 major disasters since 1953. And what you're going to notice is the amount really jumps up when we get to the top couple of states. I mean, because here we're talking 76, right? So you get very strong storms. You could get tornadoes, flooding, ice storms as well, wildfires from time to time.
Yeah, here and there.
And the natural state, Arkansas. And Arkansas can get, again, remnants of hurricanes, and sometimes they could get swamped out in the waters that come from them.
Yeah, I know. That's too bad.
Yeah, and so you see a lot of flooding over there in that particular area, as well as the possibility of tornadoes. And Kansas, yes, Kansas tornadoes, we think of those, at least some of us think of those simultaneously.
I do too. I do think Kansas tornadoes, Kansas.
You remember the movie Twister from so many years ago?
Yeah, and I had a horse named Twister, so that movie really stuck out.
Yeah, I still remember the flying cows, and I think, it was in Orlando that there was a Twister thing I went through that was pretty wild, where they simulate it and the winds blow at you. I forget where that was.
Yeah, now that sounds fun. As long as it's in a safe environment, that would be fun.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So they've had 79 major disasters since 1953. Wizard of Oz, right? But tornadoes most definitely can also get some floods, strong storms, heavy rain, flooding, ice storms as well, prone throughout the middle area there. And we know how dangerous that could be. Look at the pileup that we saw in Texas, from that. That was horrible.
Yeah, that was so treacherous.
Number 17 is Kentucky with 80 major disasters. And again, here we're looking at flooding. Actually, gosh, do you remember the flooding we were just talking about a couple weeks back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, and it doesn't get any less flooded either.
Mm-mm. So, yeah, it definitely gets hit a lot, and you could also see tornadoes there as well. And then there's a tie at 15 with Mississippi, as that bridge has seen better days.
Oh, my gosh, I would hate to be on the bridge when that happened.
Oh, yeah. 83 major disasters since 1953, of course. Hurricane Camille back in 69, that was a Category 5. 18 hurricanes in the last 67 years. And Camille had more than 200 mile-an-hour winds. So that's basically everything in its way is just gone.
I know, that's really scary.
At least 30 people were killed celebrating the storm in hurricane parties.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad.
And you can also get freak ice storms as well as tornadoes. And last year there was more tornadoes there than typical. Now this is surprising. Mississippi, okay, I buy at 15. South Dakota surprises me. But yeah, 83, the same amount. And you could get floods, you could get blizzards, major blizzards. It gets cold up there.
Yeah, I would hate to be there.
I couldn't. I know it's a great state, but I couldn't take the temperatures and also temperature swings, because it could get really hot there in the summer and then brutally cold in the winter.
It sure can, you bet.
Now, Louisiana, I don't think is a surprise at number 14. You have 90 major disasters since 1953. And, of course, we have Katrina that took 1,600 lives.
Yeah, that's just way too many.
And Louisiana's low-lying. Almost half the state is basically, swamplands. And when you have a 30-foot storm surge on top of that situation, that's not good.
No, that's really scary.
It's super scary. Montana is a surprise to me, honestly. Again, maybe it's just because I don't know the state as well. The only part of the country I really haven't traveled is kind of like that central west top part up by Canada. So it could be that it's just that I'm not as familiar with those states, but it just surprised me because I don't think of natural disasters. I always think Montana would be pretty safe, besides if Yellowstone goes.
Yeah, it feels like it should just be like stable rock or something.
Yeah, it does. But flooding, again, by torrential rains has caused a lot of issues. Alabama, sure, could understand that. Hurricanes as well. Also, tornadoes, a lot of tornadoes last year. In 2020, the state was hit with a record-breaking 30 storms. But, the worst calamity that happened in Alabama was an outbreak of 62 tornadoes over 4 days in 2011. Now, we're heading back into that same solar cycle time period, so we'll have to keep an eye out. 210-mile-an-hour winds is nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's sure not.
And this is a little surprising to me, too. It's tied with Colorado. So, yeah, because Colorado, I always think, safe, stable, winter storms. But, yeah, winter storms. And then the fires. Last year was record-breaking with the wildfires. And, the drought situation has not gotten any better. When we went to visit your mom up in Nevada again, it was like going into the apocalypse. I mean, everything around us was orange. It looked like we were on Mars.
It did really look like we were on Mars, and it had the bare mountains in the background and everything.
Yeah, it was truly scary. I couldn't wait to get back out of there and get back on the road. It just did not feel good. It never really feels good being that close to reptilians and grays on the base either.
No, it kind of drags you down a little.
It sure does. But yeah, Colorado is another western state that's got major fire problems, a regular threat. According to property inspection firm HIE, Colorado is a magnet for fires because of its dry climate, thick vegetation, and mountain peaks that are like lightning rods. And so in 2020, the Cameron Peak fire near Chambers Lake was the largest in Colorado history, scorching almost 209,000 acres. In fact, Colorado dealt with 3 of its largest fires in history last year alone. And this year is going to be just as dry, unfortunately, at this point in time.
Mm-hmm. That's too bad. Yeah.
And your former home state of Nevada is number 10. And it's like, what happened there besides maybe massive volcanic eruptions? And because of all the faults, the whole ground just crumbles underneath your feet.
Yeah, that's all.
That's all, yeah. And, that was a question from one of our really good family members. I'm trying to remember if it was Sylvia. And somebody had asked, what about Colorado? Why do they show in the maps that Colorado doesn't kind of exist anymore, with some of the earth change maps? And when you put the fault lines on, you can see like a lot of states have some of the red, and you see some big ones running through California. The entire state of Nevada is loaded with faults. These are all faults. All these are fault lines. And we were, not too far from here when we felt this one, China Lake go off, and then we felt Tonopah too, and those were both 7+. And, they were significant. It's kind of like, wow.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
But you can see fault lines. That's the problem with Nevada. It's absolutely covered in fault lines.
Yeah, I mean, just all over the place there.
And then, as I've shared with you guys too, we found sea sponge, we found coral, we found a fossilized clam. And I don't buy that they're thousands of years old. I believe that they were 300 or 400 years old, maybe. And they're in here. Seawater was in here at some time. Seawater was in here. And perhaps seawater will be in here all the way from the Gulf of California at some time way on up. Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, so 96 major disasters since 1953. Yes, things can get very hot in Nevada. Oh, we know that. Hey, honey, it's a cool night. Really? What's the temperature? Well, we're going to drop to about 90 tonight. We'll have good sleeping weather.
Yeah, that's happened before, too.
It has. The camper in 90-something degrees.
You just melt.
Yeah, it certainly does. So 2017 fire season was worse than over 10 years. And as we were sharing, I mean, we experienced it. You're breathing smoke constantly, and it was pretty scary. And then, of course, the quakes, 7.3, 7.1 back in 1954. You can have a 7+ in Vegas as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
And Arizona is number 9. So we're going down the west here. Arizona wildfires most definitely. Sometimes floods too when it comes to the monsoon season as well. 14 Arizona floods have reached the level of a disaster in a recent decade, and of course it's part of the area that's got that major drought. And then when you get the floods, then you see the arroyos all fill up.
Yeah, you do.
and cows go swimming by.
They go, yep.
Or actually, probably more likely, burros.
In that place, yeah.
And then New Mexico, which in some ways we feel is very, very safe. But, again, wildfires, and which, again, and we've seen, we have experienced that which can lead us to believe mud floods are real, going through New Mexico in some areas where you don't think you're going to get up these roads. You go, and we've done a lot of exploring, and you're out there in the desert, all of a sudden it's just like if you got a little bit of rain, it just turns into a mud bog, and you could get mudslides as well. New Mexico is definitely another one on the list. Now, this one might surprise you guys. New York's number 7. 101 major disasters since 53. Of course, we remember Sandy in 2012. But yeah, it can actually get hurricanes, and you could also get other things as well. A lot of floods, blizzards.
Oh, it's so chaotic there. It seems like maybe Mother Nature doesn't like that, so she gives them a little more grief.
Oh yeah, the buzz there. I just, as I got more energy sensitive, because I grew up like 30 miles away from New York, I just couldn't handle the energy there and just had to leave. And Oregon, number 6. Yes, a lot of beauty for sure, but destructive fires, floods, mudslides, snowstorms, drought, earthquakes, and tsunamis even. And again, Cascadia, that's the big one that could be coming in. And you also get people that just get those rogue waves. They're walking on the beach, a rogue wave comes in and just sucks you out.
I know, I've heard of that. That's terrible.
Number 5 is my old hometown of Florida, and 160 major disasters since 1953. That's part of the, if you're going to be in the Sunshine State and enjoy all that sun and surf, well, going to have to deal with some hurricanes as well. The surprising thing is the wildfires, because actually Florida gets a lot of wildfires as well, which is surprising, because you think you get a lot of rain, but you do have it in the dry season. The winter season is like you hardly ever see rain. It's absolutely gorgeous in the winter. Mostly 70s, beautiful weather, blue skies. But then you hold on, and Irma in 2017 led to mass evacuations. I was one. 2018 Hurricane Michael was Category 5. That basically looked like a NUKE went off. It was incredible.
Yeah, that was a pretty big one.
Washington, ahead of Florida. Washington State, look at that. 177 major disasters. And yeah, again, green, lush, beautiful forests. Does have dry spells, forest fires, and again with the drought out west. And 2020 fire season was one of the worst on record, destroyed hundreds of thousands of acres, and you get floods, mudslides, landslides, earthquakes, volcanoes as well, and of course the possibility of a tsunami.
And that's never a good thing to have.
Going back to Mount St. Helens, when it blew its top, 230 square miles of forest were scorched, 200 homes destroyed, 900,000 tons of volcanic ash buried roads, and 7,000 large game animals were killed. 57 people perished.
That's so sad.
And number 3 is Oklahoma. 210 major disasters since 53. See how it's really jumping?
Yeah, it's just way up there.
It's a mid-sized state, 28th population, 20th for area, but it's at the top or near the top as far as a disaster zone. And it's tornadoes, but they do also get wildfires, floods, and severe winter storms. Ice storms can be brutal in this area.
Yeah, they sure can.
The thing is, though, Tornado Alley has been shifting east, so it might catch a little bit of a break there.
I hope so.
And number 2, California. Yes, 336 major disasters since 1953. That is America's most populous state, and it's one of the most disaster prone. There's only one that's ahead of it as far as disasters go. Quakes, for sure, and wildfires. Oh, yeah. The wildfires have been absolutely brutal. And, of course, you could have floods, too. And number 1 is the great state of Texas again. And I gotta say, when after doing more in-depth research, I knew there was a lot of fracking there. I didn't realize how extensive the fracking is there. that's a recipe for disaster in the future.
I know they've really done such a sad, sad thing to Texas.
Yes, and what you have gotten with Texas is you keep seeing like chemical spills.
I do. I keep seeing chemical spills. Like they're just gonna spray it like bugs, or it's gonna spill from the plants, and I see it like rivers of it going down the streets, and it's really a depressing sight.
Yeah, let's hope that timeline can be averted. But 360 major disasters since 53. And disasters are as big as the state's reputation, that's for sure. It is a big state land-wise as well. So that does add to it, as some of these states, like it would take about 3.5 Louisianas to make up the same size as Texas. So, you do have pretty much everything that can happen there. Obviously, hurricanes, tornadoes. It is the most tornado-prone state as well. You could get fires there as well as floods. The thing that I don't think would be there naturally is earthquakes. There's some ancient faults, but now with the fracking, when things like the New Madrigals and where we had the big one, Texas is getting more prone because of just the fracking. And I wish there was a way that all the people could have spoken up before all the fracking was done, because you look at Oklahoma every day, and you always have these quakes, and right here, these are just showing the larger ones. Let's switch to the smaller ones too. There's not a day that doesn't go by that you have at least a few in Oklahoma and a few in Texas, and then some days, I've seen 15 or 20 in Oklahoma. And, it's too bad, because I do feel like the area in here would be a very, very good place to be in these times. But again, it just seems like a lot of the safe zones have been sabotaged by fracking and other things.
Yeah, they have. That's just really terrible.
It definitely does. Think about Hurricane Harvey. That was brutal. Yeah, after Katrina, it was one of the worst ones we've seen, where that storm just stalled out. And I remember it kind of going up, and then all of a sudden, I think it was our buddy BP Earthwatch showed this strange phenomenon that seemed to come up from Mexico and perhaps explode over Texas or something like that. I don't know what that could be, but all of a sudden Harvey made a left-hand turn and just stayed there.
Yeah, he did. That was really strange.
That was super strange, and Texas is the most disaster-prone state.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's too bad.
And of course, we can't forget about the ice storm this year, because I was looking at it and just wondering. My gut was telling me that more people lost their lives in that ice storm than in all the hurricanes of last year. And just looking at a couple locales like Dallas and Austin, the ice storm is going to top it.
Mm-hmm. I know, that's really tragic.
And I don't know if we're ever going to get the true figures out of it. And it's a real sad thing. So we still send our prayers and love to everybody who went through any and all of these disasters that we've had occurring.
Yeah, keep sending them love. They need it.
Thanks for being part of the family. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the bell clicked. And thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. We couldn't do it without you guys. To make an appointment with us, it's evolutionaryenergyarts at Gmail or EEARTS at protonmail.com. God bless. Stay safe and stay prepared. Namaste.
Namaste.